Greetings. Welcome to Thought for the Day from the Avon Valley Churches, which cover a delightful area of the New Forest and the Avon River Valley, where the counties of Hampshire, Wiltshire and Dorset all meet. My name is Jeremy, and I am a lay worship leader at the Forest Church of Hyde. My thoughts today are about horses, mules and donkeys in the Bible. The lives of humans and horses have been entwined for thousands of years. This picture goes right back to the cave dwellers 20,000 years ago, and clearly they held horses in high esteem. This picture comes from Egypt. The chariot is similar to the ones in which the Egyptians used to chase after the Israelites as described in Exodus in the Bible. The picture is a picture of young King Tutankhamun in his chariot, created about 1350 BC. Here we see a horseman. He's from the Greek cavalry. He's a soldier from about 350 BC. Such horsemen carved out the empire of Alexander the Great. In consequence, the New Testament was written in Greek. And finally, from Venice are these 4 chariot horses, also from about 350 BC. I found that they are more than life size when I stood up beside them. But having established the close relationship of horses to people many thousands of years ago, let me remind you of our present context. Here in the New Forest, we're famous for our ponies. They are delightful, gentle, sturdy and sure-footed, and are cherished and esteemed by children and adults alike. Also, in this particular patch of the New Forest, we've lots of donkeys. They are also members of the horse family. Throughout the Bible, many people ride to get around, but that is often taken for granted. However, I've selected a few occasions where the mount is critical to the event. My first story concerns Balaam's ass. An ass is another name for a donkey. This is a unique, curious and slightly comic tale. It comes from well over 3,000 years ago. It is perhaps the world's oldest tale of this type. Moses was leading the Israelites out of Egypt, and they were close to the promised land in what is now Jordan, but then it was called Moab. The local king was worried lest the Israelites settled in his country, so he decided to hire a prophet from Mesopotamia, a man called Balaam, who could put a curse on the travellers and so cause them to hurry off. Balaam was keen on the fee for the job, but he had a word with God who explained that the Israelites were God's special people, so Balaam declined. Then the king upped the fee, and Balaam was even more keen. In the end, God gave him permission as long as he exactly obeyed God's instructions. So Balaam set off on his trusty donkey. Along the route, the donkey saw an angel with a sword standing in the middle of the road. So the donkey took a detour through a field. Now Balaam couldn't see the angel, so he beat the donkey for deviating. Then the donkey saw an angel in a gateway, and she squeezed past the angel, but in doing so she bruised Balaam's knee, and he beat the donkey because it had bruised his knee. And then a third time the donkey saw the angel right in his path, and this time there was no way round, so she stopped. Balaam couldn't see the angel, So he beat the donkey a third time. Then the donkey laid down, and she spoke. 3 times I have saved your life from this angel with his sword, and 3 times you have beaten me, your trusty donkey. Then Balaam saw the angel, and the angel spoke. Why do you beat your donkey when she saves you from my wrath? Balaam was ashamed and repentant. And then the angel allowed Balaam to proceed to Moab. There the king met him, and on a hill above the Israelites, after due sacrifices, Balaam stood up to curse the Israelites. But God controlled his tongue, and his words came out as a blessing instead. So that's the end of the story of Balaam and his ass. My second Old Testament story concerns King David's mule. A mule is a cross between a male donkey and a horse. Now, this tale is set when King David was old and near the end of his life, and it's a true story. It is history. He had several sons. One of them, Adonijah, decided that he should be the next king. So he invited all the leaders to a great feast where they could swear their loyalty to him, thus ensuring that he became the next king. But King David got wind of this. He called Zadok the priest and Nathan the prophet and ordered them to anoint his chosen son, Solomon, as king, and they happily did so. Then David ordered Solomon to ride his mule, the king's mule, accompanied by Zadok and Nathan and the full royal escort. They were to parade through the city and then enter Adonijah's gathering. They did so, and Adonijah's guests, seeing Solomon on the royal mule, realized that they'd backed the wrong son, so they covered their faces and slunk away. But the people of the city, they were delighted that Solomon was the chosen one. It's significant that they all recognized him, Solomon, as king because he rode the royal mule. The mark of the king. And that is significant for later. So ends my second story. My third story comes from the Gospels, and so it concerns Jesus. These events are all so well known, but let me just remind you of the recorded events when Jesus rode a donkey. Jesus may have ridden donkeys many times, but I'm just going to mention 3. When Mary, heavily pregnant, travelled from Nazareth to Bethlehem, it took several days. But we can be sure that she rode on a donkey led by Joseph. This carving comes from Israel, and we love it dearly. It shows Mary on her donkey with Joseph, and this is the time when they were coming down to Bethlehem. And then, in the stable there, we can be sure that that donkey, together with the innkeeper's ox, was also there, both witness to the birth of Jesus. And later, having been warned in a dream, Joseph put Mary on his donkey, and along with little Jesus, they escaped into Egypt. Now here is a picture from Hyde School. It's called The Flight into Egypt. It's a Coptic Christian icon from Egypt, and it's handmade and made on papyrus. Now the most famous of all Jesus' rides as a king was into Jerusalem on Palm Sunday, riding on a donkey, just as had been prophesied, because the prophet Zechariah foretold to the people of Israel that the king would come to Jerusalem humble and mounted on a donkey. And the people would have known of this prophecy, would have recognized the significance of Jesus entering Jerusalem riding on a donkey. And so they celebrated the King of their faith, the Messiah. And this ends my gospel reference to the crucial part a donkey played in the recognition of Jesus as a king. My final Bible story concerns the fall of Saul and his conversion to Christianity that followed that event. In the earliest days of Christianity, we find Saul breathing threats and murder against all Christians with the sanction of the high priest. So he was going from Jerusalem to Damascus, a journey taking about 7 days on foot or with a donkey, but only half that time on horseback. The Bible doesn't specifically mention, but later records noted that Saul was riding a horse. And if you're doing the high priest business, then you would be in a hurry and you would ride a horse. We know that Saul, or Paul as he was later called, rode horses because many years later, when the Romans took him from Jerusalem to Caesarea Maritime, he was provided with a horse and rode swiftly along with the cavalry escort. The artist Caravaggio painted Saul's fall, the first part of the sequence of events on which Christianity impinged. This was one of the most significant moments in the history of the world because the future of Christianity depended on it. After his conversion, you remember Paul spent 10 years maturing as a Christian, and then he became the greatest missionary ever. He was taking Christianity mostly to the non-Jewish people of the Roman Empire, and the apostles and other disciples were spreading Christianity mostly to the Jews who were dispersed far and wide. Their centre was Jerusalem, but that city revolted against the Romans and was destroyed in AD 70. Up till then, Christianity was spread verbally, but the fall of Jerusalem led to the loss of scripts and records and the dispersal of many of those who had been witness to the mission of Jesus. And so it was a significant event, and it was essential to the gospel story that it should now be written as a permanent record. The first gospel writer was Mark, who had been influenced by Paul. Then came Matthew and Luke again influenced by Paul. Add to those two gospels the many epistles, mostly written or attributed to Paul, and you have the bulk of the New Testament. So Paul's conversion was crucial to the Bible and to Christianity. And of course, in that momentous event, there was a horse involved. And on that note, I'll finish. We're now thinking about how the donkey, mule or horse were in each case crucial to these Bible events. They all involve journeys and great progressions. And we too are all on a journey. And that is my thought for the closing prayer. So let us pray. God of all creation, we do not know what lies ahead, but as we journey on, be a bright flame to lead us, a guiding star above us, a smooth path before us, a kindly shepherd behind us, now and forever, as we seek to make the world a better place. Amen. Thank you for joining me. As I said, we do not know what lies ahead, and that's my choice for the closing music. May God be with you. Goodbye.
I do not know what lies ahead, the way I can see